Yeah, we have streamed live. Sonanda Prabhu, is things right on Facebook? It's being streamed.
Live now, it says.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sachin. Hare Krishna.
Good. Thank you. Our Satitanath Prabhu is also there.
Yes, I'm seeing. Yes, very good.
We are just waiting for Maharaj. Probably in another 2 minutes he'll be there. So then we can start the show. We are very, very grateful to all those who have joined. There are many, many devotees who have registered for the show. And we are very grateful for registering and joining the show. I'm very thankful also.
Yeah, comes Maharaj.
Maharaj is there. I'll have to make him a host. Recline. Maharaj.
Maharaj, Hare Krishna.
Haripol Amrish Prabhu, my sincere obeisances to you.
My most humble obeisances to you, Maharaj. So nice to see your smiling face. How are you? I trust you're doing well. How is your father? Everybody's good?
I am very grateful, very happy. I'm with you. My father is surviving by Krishna's mercy. Are you in Maine now?
Yes, we're missing you, Maharaj.
This is amazing. This is amazing because I could recognize exactly where you are, your chair and that window. And I used to go out the door right behind you and walk around.
That's right. We've only had one fire this year. So I'm waiting for you to come back so we can have fires every day.
Oh, fires in the fireplace, you mean?
Yes. Yeah, not outside.
Yeah, because I spoke to Sham Sundar yesterday in Oregon, and he's having a lot of fires.
Oh yeah, it's terrible on the West Coast.
He was actually doing his writing for third volume of his book, Chasing Rhinos with the Swami, and he rented a cabin. And he called me and he said the fires are getting closer and closer, massive forest fires. And I suggested to him, just leave now because if it gets close and they do one of those evacuations, you know, there's going to be hundreds of people and traffic jams and police. So just leisurely. So he left, and then about 12 hours later, there was evacuation and the whole place burned down.
Oh my God. Yeah, those fire, they move very quickly, those fires, very quickly.
But it just shows how, you know, when it was the fireplace in your house in Maine, it's so sweet and so beautiful. How the same fire could be the sweetest, most beautiful, comforting thing, or it could be death personified.
Yes, that's right. Yes, it's up to the controller. I wanted to say, Maharaj, before we get going, and then Brudge can take over, that you are our most steadfast and loyal supporter of the TOVP, and you have been since day one. When we did our first presentation, I came out of the meeting of the GBC, and you were already on your phone talking to Krishna Chandra, and you've always been there for us, and we appreciate so much your participation and your support and your love. And we are very, very grateful, and thank you for giving us this time this morning also.
Well, I'm so deeply grateful to you, Ambarish Prabhu, and I wish I could do tens and millions of times more, but please know whatever I can do, I'm eager to serve you and the TOVP.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you, Maharaj. Maharaj, you will lead us in a short prayer so that then I can introduce you and we can start the program with question and answers.
Should I do the prayer now?
Yeah, because that would be appropriate. We will begin the program with prayers. If we can lead us into a short prayer, and then we can, in that way it will be.
Om Agyan Timidandasya Gyananjana Chalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirbhishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Shatarine Vanshakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Bhavanibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Maharaj, thank you so very much for the prayers. I'll just give a little bit introduction about you. Many of the viewers are new, and almost all of the others who already know you very well. So just a short introduction about Radhanath Maharaj. His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj is most beloved and respected spiritual master in ISKCON and also serves as a GBC member. Maharaj is one of the foremost voices from the Bhakti Yoga tradition. He spent his youth in traveling and searching through different countries and cultures, aiming for experience of truth, which culminated in meeting his spiritual master, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, and becoming his disciple. He spent his last 50 years or so in internalizing the teachings that he received from his divine grace and sharing those teachings and practices with others. Among many ways that he shares his teachings is through his books, among them The Journey Home, his absolutely fascinating, thrilling, and illuminating story memoir of his travels through Europe, Middle East, and finally through India, meeting important leaders of yoga and spirituality. The book Journey Within, this is the second book which he has written, authored, is New York Times bestseller, an excellent introduction to Bhakti Yoga. Maharaj is not only a spiritual guide, but a community builder and activist. He has developed successful devotional community and preaching program in Chowpatty, Mumbai, Pune, Kolhapur, Nasik, Nigdi, and other places. Some of the important projects which Maharaj is instrumental in creating and guiding are the Bhaktivedanta Hospital, an amazing institution where people get expert care for body, mind, soul, and they are doing a cutting-edge work in the field of spiritual care. Another important project is the Govardhan Eco Village, an incredible program showing the world in ways to live and lead a sustainable life. GV is recognized internationally and won many awards, including United Nations Award for Innovative Sustainable Tourism in country. He is also doing midday meal program in Mumbai, which feed nutritional, spiritually sanctified and delicious food for more than 1.2 million school children in India every single day. Also, very near and dear to my heart is that Maharaj is the greatest supporter, as Ambrish Prabhu said, to the temple of Vedic Planetarium from the day one. He has inspired many of his leading disciples like our late Srinaji Prabhu and his family, Keshav Prabhu, Namamrita Mataji, Maithili Mataji, Krishna Chandra Prabhu, Radha Giridhari Prabhu, Damodar Vilas Prabhu, and so many others he has inspired. And to make the Srila Prabhupada vision as reality, he has inspired all of them to help the Temple of Vedic Planetarium. Maharaj has so many accomplishments, too many to go through, and also personally, as you can see the exchanges between Ambrish Prabhu and Maharaj, is a very dear friend of Ambrish Prabhu and Swaha Mataji, and he means so much to us. Maharaj, we are very much indebted to you, very, very grateful to you and thankful to you for accepting to come to this talk show. And the topic of today's talk show is Preaching is the Essence. There are many questions, Maharaj, which devotees had written after we had sent out, and I'm going to ask you a few of those questions here within the timeline which we have. One of the questions first is in Bhagavad Gita in 18 point, the last chapter, 68 and 69, where Krishna says that one who explains the supreme secret to the devotees, pure devotional service is guaranteed, and there is no servant in the world more dear to me than he, and there will be ever one more dear. So the question is, how can the devotees understand and apply this description of preaching as the superlative devotional service, and what are any other devotional services?
I am sincerely grateful and honored and very happy to be with you today. Ambarish Prabhu, Swaha Devi, and Prajvilas Prabhu. This is really a very auspicious and special moment where we can come together in the spirit of appreciating Srila Prabhupada's vision for the building of the temple of the Vedic Planetarium. This TOV project was not only was, but it is, in the present sense and in the future sense, one of the foremost desires and dreams of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. You know, for many years, he spoke about building this magnificent temple in Sri Mayapur Dham. You know, at the beginning, when he first was bringing up the subject, it was completely bewildering to the devotees. Just the idea of getting land in Mayapur was bewildering to the devotees, because it was just paddy fields, predominantly occupied by people of the Muslim community. And there were some scattered Gaudiya mats on the main road of Bhakti Siddhanta Road. But rarely did anyone go there. And when Srila Prabhupada inspired Tamal Krishna Goswami to get that land, which was a great effort, it was confusing to the devotees why Srila Prabhupada considered it so sacred and so special. And of course, we know Srila Prabhupada started the project by building a little straw hut near the road. And, you know, only a few devotees could stay there. And Srila Prabhupada stayed in that straw hut himself. And during the rainy season, when the Ganga would flood over and everything was underwater, and devotees were living on the roof of the hut, and there were so many neighbors in the form of snakes and other hostile people. And it was just around that time Srila Prabhupada started talking about this glorious temple, this temple of Vedic Planetarium, and giving plans and having his devotees make architectural designs for it. And I believe it was in Detroit where Srila Prabhupada instructed Ambarish Prabhu to really put his heart into helping to build it. And Ambarish Prabhu took that order as his life and soul. It reminds me of when Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur in Calcutta in 1922, he told Srila Prabhupada, I want you to take Lord Chaitanya's message in the English language and spread it throughout the world. Now, at that time, India was still a subjugated country, part of the British Empire. And Srila Prabhupada was a grihasta. He just had his first child. He was married. And of course, in those days in Calcutta, you know, just to make a living for a family was a great struggle for survival. And he was part of Gandhi's movement, and he was working with Bose's laboratory, trying to make a living. And he had a little baby boy, and he had a wife. And here he was given this instruction to take Mahaprabhu's message to the whole world in the English language. But Srila Prabhupada took that message as his life and soul, even though certain things we cannot necessarily understand. With faith, surrender means we give our hearts, we give our lives to pleasing our gurus and Krishna. We may not understand how we can do it, but we give our hearts to do it. And Srila Prabhupada that was 1922. And it was in 1965 that he left Vrindavan to actually go to the West. That was 43 years later. It was like a seed that he was cultivating. And when he was on Jaladuta and he looked out at Boston Harbor and he wrote that poem, he prayed, Krishna, Guru Maharaj, I'm just your puppet, make me dance. And when things are beyond our ability to understand, we just surrender ourselves to be a puppet of this higher power. And in his own very special way, Ambarish Prabhu made himself Srila Prabhupada's puppet. Back, I guess it was in the mid-1970s, Prabhupada gave him this instruction and he took it in his heart. And it was many years later till actually Mayapur even was suitable to even think about beginning the project physically. And there were so many difficulties. Srila Prabhupada laid 2 cornerstones, I believe. And he led, at one time where the temple was supposed to be, there was so many issues with legalities. But Ambarish Prabhu was not going to let any of those things get in his way. Just let us do it where Prabhupada originally put the cornerstone, and he started. And of course, invested so much of his own personal energy, wealth, gave so much of his time, so much of his prayer, so much of his bhajan was really dedicated to getting the power to fulfill Srila Prabhupada's desire, and formed a team. And this Temple of Vedic Planetarium is not a place that Srila Prabhupada wanted to be just one person's project. He wanted Ambarish Prabhu to be a spearhead. And Ambarish Prabhu took that as his life and soul. But actually, it was an instruction Srila Prabhupada gave to all the leaders of ISKCON and all the followers of ISKCON, to come together. And we see how that just the construction of the temple has brought so much enthusiasm and brought so many people together, to help. And there's been various fundraising programs all over the world. Braj Vilas Prabhu, you have dedicated your life. Radha Jivan Prabhu gave so much of his heart's energy, and so many others, Sadbhuja Prabhu, and I can't say all the names because there's so many, but so many people have given so much of their hearts and their lives, and thousands and thousands of devotees all over the world. Some have given large amounts, some have given small amounts, and the bridge crossing the ocean to Sri Lanka, there was Hanuman's and Sugriva's, mighty, powerful people, and there was the little squirrels and spiders who were also helping. And Lord Ramchandra saw that everyone, it was that united effort that gave so much pleasure to Lord Ramchandra. And similarly, to cross this ocean of so many impossible probabilities and so many difficulties, difficulties in funds and difficulties in weather and difficulties in government regulations and difficulties in devotees with different opinions, and there's so many different there's so many different difficulties which are like an ocean, and sometimes we think, how are we going to do it? But if we're just sincere to be puppets like Hanuman and those little squirrels and spiders, then Prabhupada, Krishna knows that Prabhupada wants it. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu knows that Prabhupada wants it. And I'm just so grateful because it is Ambarish Prabhu, it is you who really brought us together to fulfill this dream of Srila Prabhupada. And really it was a prominent dream of Srila Prabhupada. And I guess this brings us to your question about preaching is the essence, because this is the very reason Srila Prabhupada wants us to build this temple of Vedic Planetarium. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he was living in Navadvip, Mayapur Dham, he started the Sankirtan movement in the house of Srivas. And for about a year, all night, every night, the devotees would chant together in kirtan, and during the day they spent most of their time doing harikatha, machchita, madgata, prana, bodhyanta, parasparam, katyantastamam, nityam, tushanti, charamanti cha. They were finding the higher taste, the greatest pleasure in discussing Krishna, discussing Krishna's pastimes, Krishna's beautiful characteristics and quality, discussing Krishna's abode, discussing Krishna's devotees, discussing Krishna's teachings. And in this way, they were absorbed and they were tasting nectar and sharing. But then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted, he sent Haridas Thakur and Nityananda Prabhu that now you go to every house, you go to every village, you go to every shop, you go to every bathing ghat and ask everyone to chant Krishna's names and remember Krishna and worship Krishna and speak about Krishna. Krishna's your real wealth. Krishna's your father and your mother. Krishna's your life and soul. And in this way, Nityananda and Haridas, they just went out and started preaching. And then when that beautiful story of the Chandkazi, when there was the most difficult crisis where all devotees were being persecuted by the government itself at the time, Lord Chaitanya personally came out to lead the charge of preaching Krishna consciousness. And, it was at these times when Pritiviti Yachayata Nagaradi Gram, that Mahaprabhu said, I want the holy name to spread to every town and village throughout the world. And the seed of this great benediction was coming from the ground, the holy ground of Sri Mayapur Dham. It's like, it's described that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is like a tree, and all the different great acharyas are like branches of the tree. And in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Srila Prabhupada says that ISKCON, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, is one of the branches of the tree of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And that tree grew originally from the soils of Sri Mayapur Dham. And even though it's from a physical, geographical perspective, especially back in early 1970s, Mayapur was very difficult to get to. There was practically no possibilities of communication coming back and forth from Mayapur. It was kind of in the middle of nowhere. And Srila Prabhupada wanted that to be the world headquarters for the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. And he put so much energy sending his best devotees there and trying and raising money from all over the world to somehow or other begin the development of Mayapur, which is very, very great struggle. As I said, it was predominantly a Muslim community around, which really wasn't so favorable. And it was a communist government, which was not at all favorable. So why make this the international headquarters for the International Society for Krishna Consciousness? Because Srila Prabhupada had such profound faith that this is Lord Chaitanya's birthplace. This is where the seed of bhakti from the soils of Mayapur grew this tree that's now having branches all over the world. And when we water the root of the tree, the whole tree is nourished. And Srila Prabhupada wanted devotees within a society from Russia and from America and from all the countries of Europe and South America and Africa and Australia. He wanted devotees to come together and chant and dance and make plans for service in Sri Mayapur every year. And, it began, there was practically no place for anyone to stay. It was very austere and devotees were getting malaria and and there was so many struggles and people were getting bombed and getting mugged and it was difficulty. Bhakti Radhanath Swami Maharaj had, was severely injured from a bomb that was thrown by people who were attacking. And, Bhavananda Prabhu, he heroically risked his life and to protect Prabhupada's project, and Jananivas Prabhu and Pankajangari Prabhu, and they were always there. They saw everything from the beginning with all of its trials and tribulations. And why? Because Srila Prabhupada considered Mayapur so sacred, and there was no apparent material reasons for this, but it was faith in something that the eyes cannot perceive, something that material logic cannot figure out. It was faith in the supreme mercy of the Lord, faith in the Shastras, faith in the sadhus. And Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur himself made Mayapur his world headquarters. And he just had a little house there. And Bhakti Vinod Thakur, he was, in Puri and so many places, but he went to Navadvip, Godramdvip to build a house at a time when everything was, and Bhakti Vinod Thakur himself had a vision of this glorious temple being constructed, and he had a vision of devotees coming from all over the world, coming and chanting and dancing together under the supreme mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Sri Nityananda Prabhu. And this is a vision which is so beyond worldly understanding. And Srila Prabhupada, he was always so practical. He had the vision, but he wanted us to practically do something. And it was for this reason that he made Mayapur the international headquarters for our movement, but he also wants the whole world to understand the mercy of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the Panchatattva. And the Temple of Vedic Planetarium is a place that through its architecture, through its design, and through the holiness of the place, and especially through the spirit of compassion of all the devotees that are residing there, could be a place that could really attract people from all over the world to open their hearts to the teachings of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, to open their hearts to the glories of the holy name. And Srila Prabhupada, he explained to us that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission was beyond sectarianism. Just today I was listening to a recording of Srila Prabhupada, and his evidence that Krishna consciousness is not sectarian was a verse from Bhagavad Gita. Sarva dharman parityaja mamekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayishami masuja. Prabhupada said, this is beyond sectarianism. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender to me. And this is the very essence of Hinduism and the essence of Christianity and the essence of Islam and Judaism and Sikhism and Jainism and ultimately the essence of Buddhism. It's the essence of Dharma, is to love God. Because to love God means to surrender to God. You cannot separate love from surrender or surrender from love. When we love, we surrender to our beloved. And in surrendering, actually, Krishna gives us that love. So this is the very heart, the very essence. And Bhakti Vinod Thakur had this vision that people from all over the world, of all religions, of all races, ultimately of all species, could actually get the highest benefit of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda's mercy, through the development of this temple. And the temple of Vedic Planetarium is not only that people from all over the world will come to Mayapur with their hearts open to receive the grace of Mahaprabhu, but people who hear about it, people who learn about it from all different places of the world could be affected. And we should understand when devotees come together in a holy place like Mayapur to pray and chant, we should understand that the energy of Krishna's grace, Mahaprabhu's mercy, is going to spread all over the world. Just in that area of Braj Mandala Bhumi, or Gaur Mandala Bhumi, Advaitacharya, both in Navadvip as well as in Shantipur, he was praying and chanting the names of Krishna and praying for Lord Chaitanya to come, because he felt so much compassion for the conditioned souls of this world. He saw so many people were disconnected from Krishna. Some people were suffering material existence and some people were apparently enjoying material existence. But Advaitacharya equally felt compassion for everyone, because anyone who's bereft of their natural spiritual right to love Krishna and be in the ananda, the ecstasy of Krishna consciousness, is actually in a suffering condition. Even the enjoyments of this world inevitably culminate in old age, disease, and death. Janma, mrityu, jara, vyadi, dukkha, dosanu, darshanam. So he was feeling compassion for everyone, and he was crying and praying. And Haridas Thakur simultaneously was living just close to him in a cave-like structure that Advaita Acharya gave to him. And Haridas Thakur was chanting Krishna's name 300,000 times a day with the motivation, with the prayer that Krishna, please come and deliver the conditioned souls in this world. And Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami and Srila Prabhupada, they described that this combination of Advaitacharya, the crest jewel leader of the Brahmin community, and Haridas Thakur, who was coming from a Malecha and Yavana community, because it was their chanting and praying together that actually invoked Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to come to show mercy to the whole world. And this happened in Sri Gaur Mandala Bhumi, in the Sri Navadvip area. So this is the most holy of holy places for getting Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy. And when the TOVP is built, which it will be built very soon, we are hoping and praying and striving for also, because hope and prayer without striving according to our capacity is an empty hope and prayer. Prabhupada was very practical. And in building this prayer, in building this temple, the present devotees in our movement all over the world are very much focused in serving Mayapur Dham, serving the holy Dham, according to the wish of our founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada. And how special is that? To be serving in fulfilling a dream of Srila Prabhupada. And Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur and Bhakti Vinod Thakur and our acharyas. And in doing so, we have a chance wherever we are in the world to be actually doing personal direct service to the holy Dham Seva. And this is something that's putting our focus, our concentration very much on not just hearing about Mayapur, but serving Mayapur Dham. Not just, and as it's built and when it's built, anyone who hears about the temple of Vedic Planetarium, Sri Radha Madhava's beautiful temple, anyone who hears about it, they're going to be thinking of Sri Mayapur Dham. And how special and how purifying that is to people's hearts. So it was this principle of compassion, and preaching is an expression of compassion. When we speak about preaching, we don't speak about what's commonly experienced as a very arrogant way of trying to prove that I'm better than you, or I'm better than you, and what I have is better than you, and trying to conquer people with this semi-arrogant idea of proving myself or ourself to be superior. That's not the spirit of preaching of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Parama Karuna Pahundu Ijana Nitai Gaura Chandra. The spirit of preaching of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda is Karuna, Parama Karuna, supreme compassion, supreme kindness. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu approached Haridas Thakur and he was crying. What can I do to save the people who are suffering in this age of Kali, both the moving and the non-moving living beings, everyone, how to rescue them from suffering and give them love for Krishna. Lord Chaitanya he loves everyone. Although he's constantly absorbed in the spiritual world in the highest ecstasy, simultaneously he feels the suffering for every living being, because Sarva Yonisha Kontiya Murtiya Sambhavantiya. He's our father, he's our mother. A mother and father is not callous or negligent toward their children. A mother and father care. And if a child goes off astray, I know in my own life when I went out hitchhiking through the Middle East, my mother and father, what could they do except constantly be crying and praying for me? So even if we betray our parents, still a good parent is always lovingly ready and willing to do anything for us if we just turn to them. So that is Krishna toward every living being, and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Namo Mahabharanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namani Goda Tveshe Namaha. They personified this compassion greater than all other incarnations. All other incarnations are within Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but in this Odarya Leela, he's giving himself more freely than ever, through Harinam Sankirtan and through the association of his loving devotees. So it was this spirit of compassion that Srila Prabhupada got on the Jaladuta and came to Butler, Pennsylvania, and preached at the YMCA and preached at Slippery Rock State College. And ultimately he came to New York City and played a bongo drum and chanted in Tompkins Square Park and was living in the Bowery. and going door to door to bookstores, trying to get people to sell his Srimad Bhagavatams. And it was with the help of a few devotees, he started 26 2nd Avenue. This preaching of Srila Prabhupada was an expression of his love for Krishna in the form of compassion, because paradukha dukhi, he felt the suffering of others. And the more you feel the love for Krishna, the more you feel the joy of the love for Krishna, the more you understand what people are missing. And we want them to have that. That's why Srila Prabhupada explained, the more advanced we become spiritually, the more compassionate we become, because we taste something so much and we see, these are my brothers and these are my sisters, and they don't have this. I want them to have it. Srila Prabhupada, when he was practically homeless and penniless in New York City, living in the Bowery, which at that time was like a ghetto, he would see these stretch limousines driving on Fifth Avenue near all these beautiful jewelry and clothing stores. And Srila Prabhupada would, with tears in his eyes, he would think, oh, these poor people, they don't have this joy of loving Krishna. All their happiness is just like fuel on a fire, and it's all going to burn out. So it's this compassion that's preaching, and just as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he began his preaching actually by just having kirtan at Srivasangam and then expanding beyond that. So similarly, it's very, very important that we have a strong community. And the International Society for Krishna Consciousness is a community, local communities, national communities, and an international community, where although there's naturally, different people from different backgrounds with different experiences in life and different understandings and different ideologies, but we all come together on the common united principle of what will please Prabhupada and Krishna. He wants us to chant together. He wants us to read Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita and Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita together, and wants us to distribute these books and distribute the holy names and distribute Krishna's prasadam and distribute love of Krishna. Why? Because Prabhupada loves everyone, and whatever we feel, whatever we know, whatever our state of spiritual advancement is, that's secondary. We just want to assist Prabhupada because he cares and he loves, and he's truly an instrument of Krishna's compassion. And the Temple of Vedic Planetarium is one of the very special projects that Srila Prabhupada emphasized in his mood of spreading this love for God beyond sectarian ideas, the essence, the heart of all religion. Love for Krishna, love for God. He wanted to spread that all over the world, and this was a very important part of that. So preaching is the essence, because we make spiritual advancement according to how we please Krishna. Krishna tells in Gita, or it's actually in Srimad Bhagavatam, Atapum beard vijastareshtas varna shrama vibhagasha shwanushtatasya dharmasya samsadir haritoshanam. That whatever our ashram, we may be married, we may be monks, we may be brahmacharis, sannyasis, grihastas, vanaprasthas, or whatever particular occupational field we may have. We may be Brahmins or Kshatriyas or Vaishyas or Shudras. We may be teachers, or we may be administrators. We may be in government, or we may be in business, or we may be in facilitating through other labors. Whatever, these things are all just platforms to achieve love of God. And what makes us successful is we please Krishna. And what pleases Krishna most is when we help others to love Krishna. Krishna cares about everyone. Srila Prabhupada cared about everyone. To assist Krishna's mission, Mahaprabhu's mission, and Srila Prabhupada's mission in sharing Krishna consciousness with others is what pleases Krishna most. But this particular verse that you cited, Braj Vilas Prabhu, preaching to the devotees, sharing Krishna with the devotees, it's foundational to sharing Krishna with the world. Because when we share Krishna with each other, you know, if we gossip together when we're together, and then we go out and preach to the world, that's going to have a very limited amount of potency. You know, when we actually invigorate, inspire, infuse, and nourish this taste for hearing and chanting with one another as a society, as a community, then as a community, individually and collectively, we have Mahaprabhu's power, Srila Prabhupada's power to actually preach to the world. And preaching is the essence. Why? Because the essence is to please Krishna. And the essence of how to serve Krishna in this world and please him is to be an instrument of his compassion. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanirvavati bharata abhyutanama dharmasya tatatmanam srijamyaham. Krishna again and again and again descends to this material world in various avatars or incarnations. Why? Because he loves every living being and he wants to show compassion, and he wants to remind us what we have forgotten. That we're all part and parcel of Krishna. We're all eternal servants of Krishna, and love of Krishna is within our hearts. And that's what we're looking for. So this is the essence of Krishna's desire. This is the essence of what pleases Krishna. And therefore preaching is the essence. And, that's my abbreviated answer to your question.
That was beautiful, Maharaj. So nice, beautiful. I wanted to add that in the TOVP, on the center altar is the Panchatattva, you know, so Radha Madhava will be on one side, Guru Parampara, but in the middle is the Panchatattva with Lord Chaitanya with his arms stretched out to the whole world. So along the lines of what you were talking about.
Thank you so much, Ambarish Prabhu. Thank you. Please share with us your realization of what was in your mind and heart when Srila Prabhupada originally gave you that instruction. You were just innocently minding your own business, sitting in a corner of a room, listening to Prabhupada speaking, and then he turned to you and gave you this instruction.
Yeah. Anyway, that's a whole other Zoom. But it's been the pivotal direction in my whole life. And Prabhupada was very, very merciful to give it to me because I have zero qualifications. So I'm very, very grateful. And to wonderful advanced souls like yourself, Maharaj, who keep me on the track of Krishna consciousness just by seeing you and listening to you. It's a wonderful thing. So thank you very much. And Swaha and I are missing serving you, and we're waiting till the next opportunity.
I am longing for that blessing to be with you again.
Yeah, thank you.
Maharaj, before going to the next question, I think you have answered all the questions I had. There's no question left. Everything is perfectly. You made so much sense. Before going to the next question, because you mentioned few names, I wanted to mention other unsung heroes also in this project, which is very, very necessary, and to show our gratitude, all those who have dedicated to this project, starting with Swaha Mataji. She is recently designing the Nashingadev wing, Prabhupada Vyasasana. It's done beautifully. We had Bhavanand Prabhu, we had Shattadanya Prabhu, we had Vilasini Mataji and our design team in Pune, and we had Sachi Tanuj Prabhu, who is the Cushman and Wakefield head, and who has put in a tremendous effort to bring this project to completion. And also Premavatar Prabhu and others, and many fundraising department. In fundraising department, we have Sunanda Prabhu, who has communicated a lot, and he has done a tremendous service to get our message throughout the whole entire community, ISKCON community. Maharaj, we are running out of time. We have only 8 minutes. I don't know about your schedule. I'm very afraid to ask another question, but still I'm going to ask you anyway. Prabhupada said, your love will be shown how well you cooperate with each other after I'm gone. Now, being a GBC member and initiating spiritual master, you are so admired for propagating this unity and cooperation of all ISKCON centers and devotees worldwide as desired by Srila Prabhupada. You are upholding this principle. If you can give us a glimpse of your ideas and vision in this regard, which is so important. We see the temple of Vedic Planetarium as a uniting force of all the devotees all around the world. And also Prabhupada, as he said, that this will be the transcendental United Nations.
Thank you, Brajvilas Prabhu. You are expert at answering your own question while you're simultaneously asking it. Cooperation in a certain way can be understood as the very meaning of Sankirtan. Sankirtan means full, together. And kirtan is not only the singing of the holy names, but it's preaching of the examples that were given of the 9 processes of devotional service. It's described by sincerely practicing any one of them or all of them, one can attain the perfection of Krishna Prema, love for Krishna. There's examples of how individuals attained perfection. And kirtan is personified by Srila Shukadev Goswami. And he spoke the Srimad Bhagavatam. That speaking of Srimad Bhagavatam is kirtan. In many ways, because we're doing our archanam, our deity worship in the temples to please Krishna personally, but also to do it in a way to attract other people to Krishna, our deity worship is kirtan. Everything in our movement is interconnected with kirtan. And Sankirtan means we're engaged in kirtan together. We're united in glorifying Krishna, in glorifying the Supreme Lord, who has many names. And this unity is so much personified in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita and Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat and Sri Chaitanya Mangala and Srimad Bhagavatam. We find Lord Chaitanya is taking the role of a devotee, and so many of his eternal associates are taking the roles of devotees, and how united they are. You know, King Prataparudra was a king, and Advaitacharya was a Brahmin, and Haridas Thakur was coming from a Yavana community, and Buddhimanta Khan was a person who was very much a money person, and there was so many different people, but they were all united to glorify the Lord. That's Sankirtan. So Srila Prabhupada, when he said you can show your love for me by how you cooperate with one another, It's because that's how we individually will spiritually grow, by cooperating with one another. And as we're individually growing through this, also our community grows, and then we have that much more power and influence to help to glorify Krishna to the whole world, to all living entities. So cooperation is not just a detail, it's very much at the heart of our movement. And it's Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga is an age where every atomic particle is surcharged with the influence of quarrel and hypocrisy.
Yeah.
And it's just, there's every reason to fight. There's every reason to argue. There's every reason to be disunited. Maya will provide so many reasons. In this age of Kali Yuga, that's the energy that's permeating. And it's not going to go over. It's not something like we're hoping the pandemic ends soon. But this disease of quarrel and hypocrisy virus, it goes on for over 400,000 more years. So it's not going to go away. We have to somehow or other take the medicine. And how can we cooperate when we're all, from our past conditionings and from all the vibrations around us in the world today, there's so much propensity to fight and to prove ourselves better than others and to have different opinions. This is where surrender comes. Sharanagati. Sarva Dharman Parityaja. The test of our surrender to Srila Prabhupada is how we cooperate. It's not that we cooperate because everything's just right. It's not that we cooperate because everyone is on the same page. We cooperate because we're surrendered to a higher principle. And we find that common ground on that higher principle, and we cooperate in that way. To preserve the pure teachings of Srila Prabhupada and the previous acharyas, and to build a wonderful community where everyone can actually feel encouraged and appreciated in a spiritual home. That's what Srila Prabhupada wanted. People may be fallen souls, but they should feel shelter in the community of devotees. And people may be very advanced, but they're not thinking I'm very advanced. They're actually finding shelter in the community of devotees. Whatever our state, from the highest to the lowest, our movement should give shelter. And for that purpose, we need to be a community. And community means we have something sacred in common, and we adjust all our differences in a spirit that we're united for this purpose. And that pleases Srila Prabhupada. And perhaps of everything we can do, that's the hardest thing. Because it's Kali Yuga. We're really swimming upstream in a very rapid river going downstream. That's what it takes. We have to hold on to the raft of Mahaprabhu's and Prabhupada's mercy and surrender to this higher principle. But that's what Srila Prabhupada asked us to do. And it's so very, very vital. And all of our leaders and all of the devotees on all levels, we need to actually really focus on this spirit of community and cooperation, because it will infuse us with a higher taste of chanting the holy name. Where there's gossip and where there's rumors and then when there's criticisms and when there's infighting and all this stuff, we lose our taste for hearing and chanting. We're disconnected from Krishna. Although we think we're so connected to Krishna, we're disconnected. And, it's in, Srila Prabhupada said he shed buckets of blood for every single person that comes to this movement. And when we recognize that, there's a higher principle.
Maharaj, thank you so very much. It's very difficult to end this program. You got so much into it. And I think probably we should have you every month, once in every month. And it's so amazing what you have said, Maharaj. And we are very, very grateful to you. Also, we wanted to update you as well as all the viewers with your blessings. We have started the construction on the 2nd of this month. And now it is picking up. Our construction is picking up. And also, I wanted to tell all the viewers about our program in February. We are having a very grand, Ambrish Prabhu had said, we should have this program. We should start next year with a very grand program, a 3-day program where we are going to install Srila Prabhupada in the temple of Vedic Planetarium. Also, we are planning to open His Holiness Bhakti Charu Maharaj Samadhi, and we wanted to have a worldwide Srila Prabhupada Abhishek ceremony worldwide through Zoom. So we are targeting all these programs next year to open the next year in a very auspicious manner. And also we wanted your blessings so that we can go forward with the same dedication as you had said in this program, and complete this temple on time and offer it to Srila Prabhupada as our collective offering.
Let me just interject here that the deity that we're going to be installing has been made by Lochan Prabhu. It's a beautiful deity of Srila Prabhupada in the praying before Panchatatva. He'll go on the ISKCON that my wife is involved in designing. And of course, it won't be ready when the deity's installed, but we're giving him his own room within the temple, within the TOVP, and he can, observe the construction while it's going on. He'll be offered, he'll have offerings every day and prasadam every day. So it'll be like he's living there, like when he had his quarters in Mumbai. And he can keep an eye on the construction and keep things moving along. So we're very enthusiastic about it. We pray that, the world situation will be so that we can travel again to India. I'm missing India. So anyway, that's the plan. By your blessings, Maharaj, please bless us. Hare Krishna.
Your blessings, Maharaj. We need your blessings. Also, those who want more information about this program, please visit our website, www.tovp.org. You have all the details. Very great grand festival, several opportunities, big Abhishek programs. So please visit our website, Maharaj. Thank you so very much. Very grateful to you for giving wisdom and knowledge. And
yes.
We couldn't stop this program, actually.
My sincerest gratitude to Ambarish Prabhu, Swaha Devi, Brajvalas Prabhu, all of your families, and to all the devotees. You mentioned several of the devotees who were really dedicating their lives, and my sincerest gratitude to each and every one of you. It's such a sacred, important service. And I just pray with all my heart and soul that Krishna protects you and inspires you and empowers you to make Srila Prabhupada happy through your service.
Thank you very much, Maharaj.
Thank you very much, Maharaj. Thank you
and
very
thank
much.
you for giving us your time, which is so precious. And please, Swaha and I send our love to your father when you see him next time. Okay.
Now that you've given me a message, I'm very eager to see him, to carry on that message.
He's an amazing person.
Please tell Swaha Devi that I'm feeling profound separation from your wonderful home in Maine and from the wonderful prasad she always prepares and from the absolute divine spiritual hospitality that you always extend.
Only mostly for you, Maharaj. You inspire us to want to serve you more and more. Thank you.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you.
Okay.
Once again, let me